Musisz na Spotify.
Hey, welcome back, nerds.
Всем привет, я Бриджит, я здесь со своим другом Артуром, и сегодня мы говорим о советском фильме «Solaris», режиссер Андрей Тарковский. And for everyone who was cool in college and didn't take the time to get their high school language credits waived so they could take extra classes, that translates to, hi, I'm Bridget, I'm here with my friend Arthur, and today we are going to be talking about the Soviet film Solaris, directed by Andrei Tarkovsky.
Yeah, we are definitely going to talk about it.
I'm in trouble.
Whew. I'm going to come right out of the gate and say that this film only has the ratings it has because nobody's seen it. It's not a popular movie.
Okay, I mean, popular, no, I will give you that.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, like, if this was made today and it was filmed very similarly, it would go the Skinamarink route. Some people would be like, oh, I really like this artsy film. And everybody else would be like, I don't want to sit here for 2 hours and feel like nothing happened.
Okay, I'm gonna go right off the top with my Letterboxd review here. If you watch this and your only takeaway is, ew, that was boring and weird, you're weak and also quite possibly an idiot.
No, there's lots to take away, but it's unnecessarily long and boring.
I'm gonna disagree, but okay.
Like, what was the 11 minutes of the Tokyo highways?
See, I thought that was actually like a really cool way to depict like mounting overstimulation.
I'm not here to see that. I'm here to watch a movie.
You are.
No, I'm watching an artistic representation. The art of film and entertainment movies are very different things.
I don't think they're mutually exclusive, though.
No, in this case, though, they are. This is
Hard
purely
disagree.
Art.
Hard disagree. Oh my god. I was... Okay, first of all, since you refused to put the movie on.
I'm not watching it again.
But I had points that go in order and things I wanted to point out, but whatever. First of all, trying to read the credits in Cyrillic reminds me how much practice I still need. But also, anytime I do manage to recognize literally anything, either before the subtitle hits, or if it's something like without a subtitle, just in a list of like credits, I feel so fucking proud of myself.
It's nice, yeah.
Which, like, is fun, because the very concept of being proud of yourself usually, like, makes my fucking skin crawl.
I get that.
But sometimes I remember that I tried to do this, and I didn't have to, and I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of neat that I bothered.
Well, it paid off for this.
So, there's that. But, I gotta say, right away, you haven't seen Stalker, though.
Yeah, and I'm not going to.
I would say Stalker is better, in my personal opinion.
So would Android. So would he.
Tarkovsky?
Tagawagawaga.
It's not that hard.
So he would also say that that's better because
Yes,
this is his most hated film.
I was looking at the trivia. He had some beef with his own work, which, like...
Which is funny because so did the writer of the book, Stanislaw Lem. Hated this movie.
Sometimes it just be like that. But, like, the cinematography and sound design are immediately giving Stalker in that, like, it's very quiet, the shots are very, like, there's less frequent cuts, the shots are very long, you spend a lot of time on whatever this subject is.
See, I like that shot that you're describing. It happens a million times in this film, and I just don't need it that much.
Interesting. And also, I think this is a little more relevant to somebody who has read the book, because I have not, but the emphasis on water throughout the whole thing was picking up on that immediately.
Yeah. No, I have read the book. I read it today. It took me less time than watching this. It's 204 pages.
I was about to say, it can't
this
be
movie is more minutes long than the book is pages. It does not take a minute to do a page in film.
That's not what my screenwriting professor told me, but okay.
On visual, you get more than a page into a minute of film.
Oh. I mean, again, this was a rule from like a screenwriting 101, so I'm not saying that this is like every single thing, but the general rule was that we learned was a page of your screenplay is about a minute of screen time, but like again,
Screenplay, not book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The book is 204 pages long, and to get through a scene in a book that's a page would be, well, make it this way, any Stephen King movie would be 400 minutes long. The Lord of the Rings movies would be long. This is almost as long as the Lord of the Rings movies.
I mean, I don't know. And maybe this is just more of a personal thing in that, like, I like movies like this, period.
Just like the artsy, slow,
Yeah.
no real build or payoff. It's just
I would,
stuff.
okay, first of all, I would argue that there's not no build or payoff, but, also, when they're out at, like, the dacha, like, the country house, which, by the way, is so fucking cute.
Oh, yeah.
Wish I lived there.
Yeah.
But, and it just starts raining out of absolutely fucking nowhere. That would happen in St. Petersburg. I remember walking to class, getting, like, rained on for 2 straight minutes, and then it stopped by the time I was in the building. So... That's not like an artistic choice of like, ooh, what does it mean? No, it just straight up is like that in St. Petersburg.
I mean, yeah.
I will say whatever the like Soviet equivalent to like Technicolor is, because we also have lost the Technicolor process or whatever that is.
Yeah.
But whatever they were doing, it's so striking, I thought. Like I thought it just looked great.
There were parts of the film that stood out, looked good. Then they stayed on the screen for 2.5 minutes too long.
Okay. You're like mad that I made you watch this, aren't you?
I mean, I don't care. It's just, I watched it at 1.5 times speed.
Brooks did that for a David Lynch film. God damn it!
Yeah, but in that movie, in Solaris, you don't even notice. Because everything, even the way they move across the screen when people are talking or walking, is so slow and deliberate in the film that it's still intelligible and understandable at 1.5 times speed.
I mean, I guess, but you're shown it that way for a reason.
And that's a reason that I don't care for, so I'm going to see it all.
Oh my god.
This is like when you go to a restaurant and like the chef is like, to really enjoy the experience, you have to put a dollop of sour cream on your tongue and then do this and do that. I'm going to eat the food. That's what I'm going to do.
See, here's the thing, and maybe this is just like the part of me that is a pretentious asshole. Not necessarily that should be considered like, you know, en vogue or whatever, but I think I don't think those experiences are without value necessarily.
That would take 2 minutes of my time. This took 2 hours and 46 minutes of my time.
I mean, again, you're not gonna swing me on this, bud.
Oh, I don't care. I just know for a fact that when I was reading the reviews, lots of 7, 8, 9s. And everyone was talking about how artsy and interesting it was, except for the people that were like, very boring, but very deep. Also giving it 8s, 9s, 10s. And then it basically drops to 1s and 2s. Nobody is in the middle about this movie. It's either people who are like, I wish I'd never even heard of this, or people who enjoy that art feel of it.
Yeah, again, that's one of the things I do find the most compelling about it is like the, you know, artsy feeling.
Yeah. Valid question from the audience here, from Hey Boots. Are you the type to watch the extended edition of Lord of the Rings at 1.5 speed?
Yeah.
No, I enjoy every minute of it. Something is happening on the screen, and I get the message, and then we move on. It doesn't sit there and linger
Something
for 5 minutes.
is happening. You're just annoyed that the thing that's happening isn't progressing faster.
Yeah, it's a waste of everyone's time.
I don't think so. One of the things I thought was... Okay, well, first of all, they kind of vaguely alluded to this in, like, the IMDb trivia, but I really want to know the exact process of how they did the shift with the fog when they're showing this, like, Burton character's film from the planet. That looked so cool.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it. I didn't remember seeing anything in the trivia about it.
They said something. It was like, oh, they did it with, like, you know, random, like, mix of, like, this stuff. I'm like, okay, but, like, but how?
Acetone and...
Yeah.
I did read this, yeah. Acetone and something, and then...
But I'm like, but tell me more. I want to know, like... I thought it looked so cool. And also, during the segment where they're showing this film, like this film within a film thing that's going on, seeing like several women and also a black man in that like boardroom situation that they have going on reminds me of a lot of the discussions we had in this class that I took when I was in St. Petersburg. It was called like Depictions of Greatness or something, and it was basically like a whole social studies class talking about how like comparing, contrasting the way that the United States and the USSR like depict or depicted like, oh, we're a great nation.
Right.
And like, you know, talking about what that means and stuff. But one of the things that came up again and again was that one of the things that the Soviet Union kind of quote unquote had on the United States, or they would bring up a lot whenever the United States would say like, hey, you guys have problems. They'd be like, your cops are in the KKK. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah, you got us there.
They're kind of right.
Yeah.
So one of the and there's this other Soviet movie called Sirk, which translates to circus, and it's like this woman is she has like a biracial child out of wedlock, so she's ostracized from the it's a propaganda film, but like she's ostracized from the United States, but she like joins a circus in Russia and is like, you know, accepted and everything. And again, extremely propagandistic. However, talking about some salient points there in that, yeah, you're not going to have a good time if you have a biracial child in the United States at the time. So
It's not inaccurate.
and I don't even necessarily know if I have a deeper point about that, but just that is a thing that was at the back of my mind a lot when I was seeing some of the things, because like one of the other ways that they would try to be like, oh, you know, communism is better or whatever, is that there were more women in the workforce in the Soviet Union than in the United States for, I can't remember exactly like what precisely the time period that those statistics shifted, but like it was happening. So I don't know, seems relevant to bring up in my humble opinion. Again, as an idiot, frankly.
Oh yeah, no, I would never profess to be educated on any topic.
No, not even a little bit. Not even things I've like studied for literal years. I'm like, I don't fucking know.
I will never be an expert on anything, or never claim to be an expert on
Nope,
anything.
I will never claim to be an expert on anything whatsoever. This is just me saying what I thought.
Perfect Nick quote.
Because you're very smart and very sarcastic, but also sometimes a dumbass.
He's talking about me.
That feels right. Also, just kind of small side note, I thought they did a pretty good job with the like old age makeup for this Burton character.
Yeah. I keep looking at the screen like I'm going to see stuff from the movie.
Yeah, it's almost like that's why we put the movie on.
No. We can watch 2001: A Space Odyssey and talk Solaris. It's okay.
This was giving 2001: A Space Odyssey at points, which is fucking fascinating, because when I was watching this, I wrote down, oh, like, Kubrick and Tarkovsky were contemporaries. I wonder if they ever really crossed paths. Be like, you know, again, the Iron Curtain and all that fucking shit.
Right.
But man, they both had some shit to say about this movie and about the other.
Yeah, they both hated each other's movies.
Yeah, they both hated each other's movies. But as I was watching this, as I was watching Solaris, I was like, oh man, like so much of this really kind of is giving like 2001.
However, you're saying it's giving 2001, but Solaris predates 2001.
Did not know that.
Yeah, Solaris is 72. 2001 is 70.
Looking it up.
Oh,
78, I think?
I knew they were the same era. I didn't know the
Ooh,
exact.
1968.
68. Oh, my bad. 2001
Okay,
actually
yeah, that's
is
what I
the-
thought.
That's why I was thinking 78. It's
Yeah.
just way too late. You're right.
Okay. But yeah, there were several points where I was just like, I mean, clearly he has to have seen it, and maybe even if he didn't like it, got something out of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to like Solaris because I've seen the 2002 film and it's fine.
Okay.
It's also a much more respectable, like 90-minute runtime.
I don't know, man. I'm always of the mind, and again, maybe I'm just a fucking asshole. But like, as a person who has enjoyed a 7-hour movie before, if that's how long it takes to tell your story, and you earn it, which again, that is subjective.
Yeah, that's where we would differ. I would agree.
But if you earn it, whatever that necessarily is for the viewer, that's as long as it fucking takes, man.
Right, and that's why it's 8s, 9s, 10s, and then people who are just like, I did not want your message the way you
packaged it.
Yeah.
That's fair. And this, again, and I think this just speaks to a difference in, like, our threshold for, like, enjoyment of, like, something that is also, like, really pretentious and artsy. I will fully admit that. I was genuinely kind of amazed by the way that a story with such measured pacing, at least for me personally, it drew me in so fucking quickly. Like, I was sitting there just, like, jaw dropped, like, just so, like, fixated, locked in, interested within the
You're the
first,
target
like,
audience.
5 minutes.
Yeah, you're the target audience. You know.
And also, this is just like another fun little detail thing. The little cars, they're these Soviet cars called Ladas, Lada, and according to my Russian professor, those things ran like hot fucking garbage. But they're also my favorite vintage car just because they have so much fucking personality, like, in the design.
Breaking news: Soviet car runs poorly.
Yeah,
I want
shocker.
that breaking news sound. We gotta get that as a
Like The Wire.
We gotta work on that.
so that whenever somebody says something like that, we can just.
But yeah, in the least shocking turn of events possible, those things ran like hot fucking garbage, according to Natalia. But, God, the design is just so fun. I don't know what it is. They look like a fucked up little Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah, kind of.
I was also fascinated by this extrapolation of a future where China and Russia have become, like, even more intertwined.
Yeah.
Because, like, have you seen the series of, like, Chinese Soviet, like, friendship propaganda posters where it looks like this, like, beautiful interracial couple, like, met in, like, a metal forge and then started a farm together?
No.
Because it's just, like, this very handsome Chinese man and this very handsome, like, stereotypical Russian man, like, holding hands and also holding up a copy of the Communist Manifesto.
Where are you seeing this?
There's a subreddit for old propaganda posters. It's actually really
okay.
interesting.
I could see that being fun.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And, like, they're not even all, like, you know, bad necessarily. Some of them are, like, genuinely really nice. There was, like, an American propaganda post, like, it was literally known as a friendship propaganda poster that was like, go visit our beautiful neighbors in Mexico, and, like, listing a bunch of tourist destinations. And there was there was a Soviet propaganda poster, and actually my Russian professor, she grew up in Ukraine when it was part of the Soviet Union, and there was, like, the Russian, like, the USSR equivalent of, like, the Girl/Boy Scouts was called the Young Pioneers.
Okay.
And they had, like, you know, little red bandanas or whatever, but there was this really cute propaganda poster of, like, all these little Russian scouts, and it was like a young pioneer is a friend to all children of the world, and it had, like, you know, kids of all different, like, races and stuff like
They
that.
had gone woke, and that's what broke up the Soviet Union. You heard
Go
it
woke,
here.
go broke.
Yeah, you heard it here on Regrettable Reviews.
But no, so, like, that's a fascinating thing to look at from a historical sort of social studies type standpoint.
I mean,
and it's not all negative. Some of it's nice. It's like, hey, we should accept people.
Yeah, I mean...
Of course with the tinge of a political agenda, but still.
People have been digging up the old stuff for a while. That's how we got the keep calm, move on. Or keep calm, carry on meme is entirely from that.
And yeah, and here's the thing. I do understand the complaints with, like, the scene in the car going on for way too long, but I think it's such a good depiction of, like, when you're just sitting there and you're thinking about, like, something that is, like, or remembering something that's upsetting, thinking about something that's upsetting you, and maybe you're trying to stop yourself from thinking about it, but it just keeps getting worse.
So you admit it just keeps getting worse.
I mean, like...
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. What was I gonna
like,
say?
is that not what that looks like? Or is that not a way to show what that looks like? Regardless of whether or not it, quote-unquote, worked for you in the time that it took.
I have 2 points about that.
Okay.
One, Roger Ebert kind of agrees with you. He says that, like, at first, when he first saw it, he thought it was boring. And then he watched it again in 1982 or whatever, and it was re-released in the U.S. And he came out of it thinking that those long scenes weren't boring. They were giving you an opportunity to, like, ruminate on what had just happened before moving on to the next thing. So that sounds kind of like in your wheelhouse for that.
Roger Ebert is an interesting figure in the whole film criticism world because I think the fact that he took films at face value and wasn't like, oh, this is a bad horror film because the, you know, romantic subplot wasn't great, and didn't try to grade films on, like, and on them being every genre perfectly all at the same time. But sometimes his takes are fucking garbage.
I don't read a lot of his reviews. I don't read a lot of anybody's reviews, but
He like
so I don't know.
it's
Like, what's a
his-
big one that he says is bad or
A Clockwork
says is-
Orange.
Okay, that's a divisive one.
That is a divisive one,
I
but
could
like
see that people arguing that
but
Clockwork Orange is too artsy.
we can talk about that. But he hates all of David Lynch's work, and he has this very odd conviction that David Lynch like hates hates women in his movies because like there is like, you know, there are depictions of abuse in some of David Lynch's films. Like the one that he really goes off on is Blue Velvet, which is one of my favorite movies. But he's like, oh, like the way that what's her name? Isabella Rossellini's character. Doesn't matter. But the way that this character is treated in this movie is proof that, you know, David Lynch hates women and he likes to exploit women, and like that's the point of the story. I'm like, no, you idiot.
I mean, I understand where they're coming from, and here's why. I was just having this argument about Stephen King. I started reading one of his books, and I was, 20 pages in before he introduces a character that drops the N-word in a page worth from the bottom half to the top half of the next one 6 times. And I was like, I forgot Stephen King loves to use the N-word for the character. At some point, you chose to write that character.
At some
and that's
the thing
same
is,
thing with
at
Tate
some
Lynch.
point,
At some point,
you did choose to
wanted a
write
woman
that
to be abused.
character. However, I think if you look, like in David Lynch's case, I think if you look at Twin Peaks in particular, like that is David Lynch, I think, is one of the best examples of a male director, writer, whatever, being able to write compelling, multidimensional female characters. Because, like, Laura Palmer, man,
I've never seen Twin Peaks,
holy fucking shit.
so I couldn't tell you.
The whole rest of my argument is gone, essentially, because we don't have that shared knowledge going
I know,
forward.
That knowledge base is gone. I know. I hear good things about it, and I probably would enjoy it. Genuinely, I don't even know when that came out. I don't remember anybody
1991.
talking about it. Oh, 1991. Okay. So that's why I never got into Twin Peaks.
Spooky in the Stack says she stands the log lady.
Oh my god, we'll have a discussion. But yeah, Roger Ebert is really hit or miss for me. But I do agree with him there. In that, like, it's giving you processing space.
Again, I could even allow for that. It's the length of it, though. Like, I remember right in the start of
Jesus
the movie when
Christ.
there's the teacup it starts raining randomly at the little house we talked about, and it rains onto a teacup, and then it just starts zooming in. And zooming in.
See, the thing is,
Yeah, it lasts for a good 40 seconds, zooming in on this teacup, and I'm like, that's about 30 seconds too much. I got it already.
The way I didn't even quote-unquote notice the length of that shot, again, probably just because of who I am as a person.
Like, you didn't notice the 11 minutes of traffic.
No! Like, again, I found myself so sucked in.
It went on for so long, and I had kind of like got distracted, and then I looked back in, and it was still on that scene, and I was like, what? Wait. And so I backed it up at 33:30 on the nose is when that scene starts. From that point, for a straight 5.5 minutes, there is not a word of dialogue, there is not a piece of music, it is just bad 70s microphones picking up loud highway sounds.
I mean, I'm not even going to say that you're wrong necessarily.
Because I'm not. I
I
timestamped it.
I think it fits. I was trying to kind of figure out some sort of rhyme or reason for the switches from black and white to color, and I gotta be honest with you, I'm not entirely
again?
the switches from black and white to color.
When did it do that?
If this is like a gaslighting joke.
No, I'm like aggressively colorblind, and on occasion, randomly, I won't notice that something's
Oh my god, I
black or white.
forgot you. I thought you were trying to like be like, what happened?
It's like you remember the what's that stupid Van Helsing movie with Hugh Jackman? No, not Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman. He plays Van Helsing.
Sure.
Doesn't that movie start out black and white?
It does.
Yeah, and I went into theaters and I saw this, and I was like, this looks weird. This looks weird. And then it went to color, and I was like, oh my god. There's stuff happening on the screen. What's
There
happening?
were several switches from black and white to color. At some points,
Single one.
I'm so sorry. At some points, I was like, "Oh, okay, so this is supposed to be night." But other times, it was more of like a tonal shift type thing. Like, in the beginning, when they're showing Burton's film, the film is always in black and white. And so, like, sometimes I was like, "Oh, clearly this denotes a different time, a different place, day, night, whatever." But there were others that were less clear to me.
Being artsy and deep and whatever, you're supposed to be confused.
I mean, yeah,
It's
but
about
that
the hopelessness of the human condition.
But the thing is, the confusion just makes me want to, like, it doesn't make me, like, pull back, I guess, is the thing. It makes me want to, like, dive deeper.
Okay.
Like, to see if I can maybe get to a point where I understand whether or not that necessarily, quote-unquote, exists.
Right.
And, again, I think that's just a difference in personality. It's not necessarily going to put any value judgment on it.
Right. It won't change that, yeah.
Also, this is just another kind of side note as a person who has been checking a lot of old Russian movies off of my watch list. These, like, fucking Soviet, like, starlets, so many of them are so fucking pretty.
Are all of them Soviet? I remember seeing that, like, there was a Lithuanian guy, a Estonian guy for the two main actors.
I do believe those two countries were part of the Soviet Union.
Oh, fuck. See, I'm thinking Russia, and
No, that's fair. But, like...
you're right. So they are Soviet.
Yeah. But, like, the lead actress in The Cranes Are Flying, the lead actress in the Bondarchuk version of War and Peace, they're all so fucking pretty. And that's neither here nor there. It's just an observation.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just something, you know. Of course they're going to give us the best of the best.
Yeah. I will say the depiction of space travel, that was really kind of giving Space Odyssey for me. Although, what's the difference?
I was going to say, that's one thing about the original book. I don't know if 2001 is inspired by the original Solaris book. But, like, in a way where, ooh, I like that, but I'm going to do it differently. Not a straight ripoff, but more of like...
Yeah. But then also you kind of get it. This whole thing, like, I think a lot of people would probably argue, like, oh, X is a ripoff of Y, like, in so many different instances, but also, like, nothing is new, unfortunately.
Was there 7 stories?
Yeah.
And everything else is just a retelling of a combination of those 7 stories.
Yeah, like, nothing is new, unfortunately.
Just look at the Hero with 1,000 Faces and any of the hero archetype research that people have done.
I love seeing retrofuturism from other countries, like seeing what their extrapolation of, like, okay, we're imagining the future in 1970. What does that look like? And it's different for every country, and I think that's so cool.
I actually think that they made the sci-fi very bland in Solaris, but that was on purpose because
It's believable.
Tagalovsky
It's not that hard.
did not want to do. I just don't remember what it. I could say it if I could see it in writing. I would be
Tarkovsky.
like, oh, Tarkovsky. Okay.
Yeah.
I just keep forgetting his name. Yeah. So he didn't want to do the sci-fi bits. He wished that they could just kind of like skip it.
Which is why I think it's so interesting that one of his other most popular film adaptations is Stalker, which, like, it's one of those things where, like, yeah, you can kind of, like, remove the science fiction from it to a degree, but it's still there.
I don't know the
regardless.
premise of Stalker, so.
Man, how do I explain this as quickly as possible? There is a guy who will guide you, a guy who, they call him a stalker. He will guide you into this geographical location where the laws of reality don't behave quite the way they're supposed to.
Oh, okay.
And if you make it to the center, legend has it, there is something there that will grant you a wish.
That sounds fun.
It's his best work, and it's Tarkovsky's best work, in my humble opinion.
That sounds a lot better than this.
And also, they based a video game off of it. It's fucking awesome.
I have to check that out.
Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl. Great game.
For what system? Is that like a newer game or like an older game?
PC.
PC?
It was probably on, like, PlayStation. This came out in, like, the late 90s, early 2000s?
Oh,
Early
okay.
2000s.
Okay.
Oh, to the internet. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
What was the name again? Stalker.
Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl.
It was a video game.
Highly recommend. One of my favorites.
Videospiel.
You speak German?
Yeah.
No shit.
Like, fluently.
Cool. Nice. Did not know that.
2007.
Wow. Don't you feel silly?
Always, every single day of my life.
Yeah, right? Yay, imposter syndrome.
It's great. It's great. This is another thing that I really fucking love. This Kelvin character, our protagonist, arriving at the space station. So, like, immediately, something happened here.
Yeah.
And it is so much worse than what this man was anticipating.
Right. Yeah. How
Like-
could you anticipate this, though?
How could you anticipate this? But, like, clearly, he's like, oh, this is just about as bad as I could have possibly pictured. And this is really not where I was hoping to start. And just, like, there's only 3 of us. You know us from our photographs. Like, something is so fucking wrong. And it takes so little work to establish that in a very meaningful way.
Again, it's everything was good, and then it just kept going. If any 1.5 times, this was almost decent
Fair enough.
because I kept it fast.
I was kind of obsessed with the Soviet space station bedroom, I'm not gonna lie. Just from a design standpoint. Nicely done. Fun little dome room.
Yeah.
The drawing on the that was left on the door of the scientist, what was it, Kibarian, who killed himself, was fucking freaky.
It was unsettling. I'll give you that.
Where did my... Okay, yeah. But his whole note, when he says, like, dealing with this monster or whatever, I was like, is that literal or conceptual?
Well,
Which we'll get to. But also, I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion. Maybe not. But I think spoken Russian is so beautiful. It's a gorgeous language. I absolutely love listening to it.
I actually think that most languages sound good to a native speaker. Like, people give German a hard time. It does sound harsh, you know.
Well, I mean, people say the same thing about Arabic.
Right, and that's actually very beautiful.
Yeah, I think Russian sounds fucking gorgeous.
I think it does too, when, you know, not said in an angry way.
I mean, yeah, you can make any
That's my point,
language
exactly.
sound intimidating.
Like, German always sounds like...
But that also has to do with, like, you know, biases of, like, the scary Reds, or, like, you know, the Krauts or whatever. So, like, there's
Krauts.
that.
We haven't used that one in a while.
Yeah.
We have used that.
Ooh, fun. I thought the sets were amazing. Like, they were kind of bland.
But I could be fine with that.
But that's the thing, like, it's a space station. It's supposed
Yeah.
to be utilitarian and sterile and all this stuff. And it's very clear from, again, like, the set design and all these other things that they have going on, that, like, Tarkovsky had a lot of financial weight behind him.
Yeah, he pulled. Like,
Oh, yeah.
because to make that movie in Soviet Russia, that's good.
It's wild, and again, the only thing that is more impressive is the adaptation of War and Peace by Sergei Bondarchuk.
Wasn't there a controversy over Solaris with the Soviet Republic after it came out? Because it didn't meet the censor requirement or something?
That wouldn't surprise me. I know that there was beef about releasing a certain cut of it outside of the Soviet Union.
Oh, yeah. Yep, so we had to wait to get that.
Yeah. But, I like this note I have about saying, like, oh, Gibarian said he wanted to be buried or whatever. I was like, I too would like to rot. I've said this on Fighting with Friends, and I'm saying it again here. I do not ever want to be cremated. I want to rot in a bog.
Why?
Oh. We have
Bo-
Hey Boots chiming
bog
in.
mummy.
Sorry. He agrees with the nothing is new statement, but according to TCM's The Essentials, 2001 was a proposal from Stanley Kubrick to Arthur C. Clarke in 1964 to collaborate on the proverbial really good science fiction movie.
Sure. I too
All
would like
right.
to.
I believe you.
Yeah, I mean,
1964. Yeah, that makes sense.
thing that's never fucking explained. Why did what's his name, Sartorius? Why did he have a little person in his lab that we just never fucking talked about again?
Because time is immaterial and manifestations exist. I don't know.
Yeah. Could have maybe gone back to that. But very clearly establishing that proximity to this planet does something TM to you.
Is it just proximity to the planet, or is it... Okay, because they're not actually on the planet.
Yeah, they're in a space station. And this is the point in the movie where I had the genius realization that I should have been doing for so long, especially when I was watching anime for the stream and watching things in Japanese, that I can just put my phone on voice to text and take notes that way by making my comments so I don't have to take my eyes off the screen and, like, miss subtitles.
Yeah. I do hate that the most when I'm watching a film with subs and
Yeah,
you
it's
even
a
blink
struggle.
or cough and you're like, wait, what? I missed that whole scene now.
And this is where things start to get like even more fucking ambiguous, which again, I get it. I really do. But I kind of wonder, like, did whatever forces were at play here, like, want Kelvin to see Gibarian's corpse? Who's to say? But that was a vibe I was kind of getting, and I thought it was very interesting that the girl in the blue, like, dress or whatever it was, she wasn't a manifestation or a hallucination from Kelvin's mind specifically, because she was in the tape that Gibarian made, and other
yeah.
people saw her.
That's true.
So again, what that means, I would have to think about it a lot longer and probably read the opinions of several people much smarter than I am.
Definitely.
But there you go.
That's when I'm breaking down. That's the only time when I will look at, like, a critic's review and actually cares, when they're breaking down the meaning of a scene. All right.
And this is one of the points where a switch to black and white kind of seemed to indicate, like, whatever sort of night shift they would have on a ship like that, because I would assume being in space fucks with your day-night cycle, because you don't have the sun.
You would have no way to mark the time other than
Yeah.
set
So
schedules.
I'm assuming that's what it was. Again, could be wrong. But when Calvin is watching this tape that Gibarian left him, I was surprised when it revealed that whatever this manifestation is, we'll get to the name, but she's corporeal. Like, she touched something and it actually moved. It wasn't just like, oh, the planet is, like, making you see things or whatever. So that felt very significant, which, I mean, it is. But, and the thing that Gibarian said about, I really want, like, he knew that some shit was up, clearly, because he left notes and everything, but he was like, I really wanted you to get here in time. Jesus Christ, that was dark.
That's dark, yeah. It was actually great. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that gave me more dread than the 11 minutes of highway scene. We're going to keep touching on that, because if I had to watch it for 11 minutes, you've got to hear about it for 11 minutes.
That's entirely fair. And, I mean, I'm not going to disagree that I think, yeah, it creates a different kind of dread, though. It's the experience of sitting there desperately trying not to have a panic attack while you remember some horrible thing that happened and it just keeps getting worse and you're getting closer and closer to it, versus, like, walking into a room and immediately knowing something is horrendously fucking wrong. You just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah. They're definitely two different sides of that coin.
Two distinct types of dread.
Well, there's three, because then there's Judge.
Yeah.
Have you seen Judge Dredd? Mm-mm. I can make you watch both Dredd movies. Sorry, carry on.
Sorry, I was a little late on that, but
Oh, the Judge Dredd, yeah.
yeah.
And again, this is a minor thing that I would, again, have to look for guidance from somebody who is a much more educated film scholar than I am. I'm not even a fucking film scholar. What am I saying? I just like watching a lot of movies and have a high tolerance for pretension. But I swear there are 3 different black and white color palettes at various points throughout this film.
Again, I don't remember the black and white at all.
Which is entirely fair, and could that be issues with like the actual like film development process,
Oh, for the different tones, yeah. I imagine that part of it.
possibly, but also I kind of wouldn't put it past him to be like, these little things mean like these little differences are significant. So like I would have to do some research. Oh, and as soon as like we see Hari, we see her photo early in the film, but then when her sort of her manifestation appears on this satellite where Calvin is, as soon as I saw her, because I saw the actress's name, it's Natalia Bondarchuk, and I was like, I don't know how common that last name is, but I know that last name. Maybe it's Sergei Bondarchuk's daughter, the man who directed the fucking 7-hour adaptation of War and Peace. One of my favorite movies. And again, pretentious as shit,
Yeah.
but it's amazing. The scale is just incredible. But as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh yeah, that has to be Sergei Bondarchuk's daughter. Like, I can see the resemblance, and I was correct.
Nice. I wouldn't have known that. Because, again, my knowledge of Soviet film is this and Wolfhound.
Have not seen Wolfhound. This is one of my sort of favorite academic subgenres of film. I think it's very interesting. And I'll never fucking shut up about how much I love that version of War and Peace. And also, if you don't want to watch it in one 7-hour sitting, it was released as 4 separate movies.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, it's not really a 7-hour movie. It's a miniseries. It's a 4-part miniseries.
I just watched it all in one sitting and loved every single fucking second of
It's
it.
10th Kingdom, you know? I have a friend who supercut 10th Kingdom into one thing, and it's like 11 hours or something.
I highly, highly recommend. It's fucking incredible.
Perhaps I will someday.
I think it would
Many
be.
days.
I think it would be fun to start a pretentious film podcast with somebody. I don't know who that would be.
I don't know how much space we have. We're actually getting to the point where we're getting full.
Yeah,
We-
again,
hosts and shows.
if
not-
anybody
Hell
knows a
yes.
producer out there who wants to work for free,
Until we go viral.
It's going to be a while.
That's fine. Anyway. So, and this is just another like little cultural thing that I noticed when she's like lying on the bed with Kelvin. I noticed that her legs aren't shaved.
Hmm.
And I was just like, oh, huh. I wonder like when, because I know people always make the jokes about like, oh, European women don't shave or whatever, but I was like, I wonder when that crossed the Iron Curtain, if ever.
Well, but also, how did she commit suicide? I don't remember.
She poisoned herself.
Oh, never mind. I was thinking like a death in the bath thing, so maybe she hadn't shaved her legs for a while, and then in the bath.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I was like, huh.
But that's Event Horizon,
That is
which
Event
also
Horizon.
gives some Solaris vibes, by the way.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's just
I
instead
mean,
of
again,
traveling to a planet.
Nothing's new.
Right. It's instead of traveling to a planet, it had traveled to a different dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of a weird liquid water creature, it's the concept of hell itself.
Yeah. Would I be interrupting the podcast horribly if I asked what the beverage situation is because I'm out of water?
we have
There's a cooler over
beer
there. Yeah.
and beer.
I mean, okay.
Twist her arm.
Have at it, yeah.
Huh.
So, Art,
Sorry.
what's going on?
I mean, she's got a lot more notes than I do because I looked at the trivia, I looked at the cast, I watched the movie,
There we go.
I read the book, and did not really need notes. Why is my name being screamed?
I don't know.
Will I go to Chili's? I will not. For just so many reasons.
I just grabbed this because it looks interesting. Let's see.
TV.
What is it?
It is a cider donut inspired cider, and
Oh.
holy
Oh,
fuck,
yeah.
it slaps.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Don't fucking mind if I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost sorry I took so many notes. I feel like I'm kind of torturing you here, but I have a captive audience who's actually gonna like listen when I say things about stupid pretentious films.
Oh, it's fine.
Which is like exciting for me.
See, the difference is though, like, when I have a movie that I know is controversial, I'm like, well, I like it, but I know that other people don't. You said I had to be an idiot to feel a certain way.
Okay, here's the thing. You didn't take nothing from it, though. My hot take is that anyone who can watch that and their only takeaway is, ew, that was boring and weird.
Well, nobody's literally only going to take that away.
My sister. Several people in my life, that would be their only takeaway. I promise you that.
All right, well, I am also a little bit of a film nerd, so maybe it's easier for me to pick up on like some of the symbolism, but that's exactly why I didn't want to be hit over the head with it for so long.
Fair enough. But yeah, it was one, I liked the term guests for whatever this phenomenon is.
I kind of liked it. It's kind of like visitors.
Yeah, like
It gives that vibe, but, like,
it's
it's slightly
neutral but a little bit creepy at the same time.
I almost feel like it's more unsettling than maybe other terms would have been.
Yeah.
Like I said, visitors.
Yeah, it's
fine,
unsettling.
but guests. And you know they weren't invited, so there's already like a negative tone
Yeah.
to it, you know.
But like she doesn't recognize her own photograph at first, and like all this freaky shit of like that whatever this is, it has to become human somehow.
Right.
But and like she seems to possess memories that she shouldn't. Like she knows who one of the other people on the ship is, despite the fact that she never would have met him.
But here's the thing. It takes the concept of the person from someone's mind, right? Mm-hmm. And manifests them into another person. But is it taking everything else with it too? And just not utilizing all of it?
It's possible.
Because otherwise, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
And I think a thing to point out there is that in any science fiction film, not just this one where it's like, oh, it's taking things from your mind, but it does it imperfectly. The human brain is a lump of like soggy bacon with electricity running through it.
Yeah.
Of course it's gonna fuck up a lot.
Yeah.
But also just another kind of like small thing that maybe would have been quote unquote answered if I had read the book. I was kind of wondering if the diversity of names that they seem to be coming up with, because it's not a lot of aggressively Russian names, and I was kind of wondering if that's supposed to be like it's meant to telegraph a slightly more globalized future, because again, this was behind the Iron Curtain after all.
Or
not
is a
quite.
Polish book. This movie is behind there. But the book is Polish.
But like even then, like, oh yeah, we'll approve the sale of this book or whatever.
Yeah.
But like this version of the story specifically
Definitely.
meant to maybe telegraph like, oh, I hope in the future, like, you know, in some future where we've achieved space travel on this level, that things might not be so restricted and they'll, you know,
mellow it out a little bit.
So just the thing I kind of picked up on, but
I don't remember any of their names being too different in the book.
but that's
Except for Rhea, Harry, Carrie.
it's interesting. There's no straight like H. There's no like flat H sound in Russian, which is actually why I broke out my Herzen University T-shirt for this. But in Russian, it's Gerzen, and the way it's a G,
Right.
and the way that they say, like they would say the way one would say Harvard University if you were talking to a Russian, it's Garvard, because there's only like a harder H, like a KH almost. It's that and nothing else.
Okay, you get the hard H in German, but it's not the only way. There are the soft H for like Hundert. You know,
Yeah, that doesn't
Hungrig.
that doesn't exist.
Hilfreich has both, but it's a CH.
Yeah, there's a hard CH and there's like the KH, but that's it. Anyway,
They make pills for your soft H now.
there this is where I stopped for a second and wrote down like a theory, or like
Okay.
where I thought it might have been going at that point. Obviously, since the door is closed in his room when he wakes when he wakes up and like
Right.
sees that this person is here who shouldn't be. Obviously this person is not real, even if he's experiencing her like corporeally in the room with him. So my guess at the time was that whatever this entity is on this planet, it exerts some sort of force, and it exerts a force over people that are close to it. But whatever the hallucination is that it creates, it's not a perfect replica. It's just a little bit off. And I was wrong here, because he notices that she has like a tear in her sleeve or whatever, and her dress, like, it has like laces, but it doesn't actually like undo. He has to cut her out of it. So I was like, oh, maybe it's like it can create a perfect image, but if you start to probe a little deeper, like there's something wrong with it. It forgets things. That's what I thought at the time.
I think it was just like it was actually the imperfection of his memory that was causing those, you know.
Yeah.
Because memory is so fluid. My knowledge of you is all of the things I know about you at all times, and also none of them at all times.
Yeah. But then I thought it was interesting that after Kelvin like sends her away in the rocket, like tricks her, her shawl was still there. And I thought it was really interesting that the phenomenon really kind of didn't just like fold back into itself, that there was distinctly, like when she came back,
Right.
that there were two dresses after she changed the second time. So like it didn't just like, again, like keep reality as smooth as possible to keep
Right.
the victims like confused or whatever. It was like, no, she was here and now she's not, and now she was here again.
So what is real?
Yeah, exactly. And this is another I don't know if this is apparent to you either. There was a point where they put kind of like a yellow filter over everything, and that was really reminiscent of the beginning of Stalker.
I don't recall seeing a yellowish.
Yeah. Sorry.
It may have happened. I don't. For how long of the film?
And as I was watching, like, I was noting, like, when she reappears, there's no tear in her sleeve this time, but he still had to cut her dress again. But then, again, there's two separate articles of clothing.
Right.
Kind of just, like, again, it didn't matter in the way that I thought it was going to. Like, it's still significant, but it wasn't like count it so you can see how many times, like, this thing has happened, and that'll be some plot point or
you
whatever.
Thought that was gonna be, like
I
a
thought
very
that was gonna,
telegraphed.
I thought that was gonna maybe be significant. Like, it's not that it didn't matter, it's just that it didn't matter in the way that I thought it might.
Yeah, not in the way that you hyped yourself up to think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that my note is partially in Russian. It just says, fucking что, which is what? When she, like, busts through the door all bloody.
Yeah.
It's like, fucking pardon?
Yeah. Well, earlier she couldn't get through the door because she didn't understand the door. No, that's what you're talking about. She
Well,
reached the bulkhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because the first time he, like, sends her, she's like, again, like, I was wondering about this as I was watching it. She's like, oh, like, I get freaked out when I'm alone and stuff like that. I was like, because he tricked her onto the rocket by telling her, like, oh, I have to shut the door, I'll be in right behind you.
Oh my god. Yeah, you're right.
Which,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I can't even necessarily fault him, because, like, the fuck else are you gonna do?
I mean,
Like, this is a person who isn't supposed to be here regardless.
it's clearly manifested by something, though, and
Yeah.
that something has gotten some kind of information
Mm-hmm.
that you don't know how. I'd be cooperating as much as possible.
This is also true.
I don't think that I'm gonna trick the whole being out of here.
But after she gets all, like, cut up, she kind of, like, insta-heals.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, heals very quickly. And it's, like, that kind of gave me the feeling of just, like, how we remember things, like, sort of, you know, as they were. Like, perfectly. Like, memories stay preserved in some way.
Yeah, it's. Yeah.
I swear I'm trying to get through this in, like, a timely manner. I feel like I'm being so annoying right now.
No, you took a lot of notes. Most of them are on point to, you know, your side of the argument.
Thank you. Yeah, it felt, and again, this kind of turned out to be wrong. It felt significant as I was watching that the dress she was wearing, it had a rip in the sleeve, but it also didn't have the same cut in the back. So were things like at the time I was like, oh, like, is this phenomenon unstable? Does it decay the longer it's in the world? Which, again,
don't believe that was the case, but it
did not wind up being
yeah.
the case. But I was like, I wonder if that's where they're going.
Yeah.
Just loved the term guests. Felt so right. And I really, really loved the way that they depicted this, like, alien ocean. I thought it was so beautiful, like, with these, like, all these currents that don't make sense, because of course they wouldn't.
Yeah, because it's not a plain liquid. It's this sentient creature that's a liquid.
Yeah. And also just, like, the, continued emphasis on water. The guests, they seem aware that they're not quite right. Like, they know that something is wrong, and they seem to share a lot of memories with the person that whose memories they're being created from.
Right.
Like, I get, like, things they wouldn't remember, people they would never have known. Especially in her case, it's not just like, oh, I wasn't friends with this person that my husband was friends with. I never met this person because I was dead.
Right.
And there's several comments about, like, that just, again, made me very, like, off-kilter, like, on edge, like, we're running out of time, like, oh, this has learned to sleep. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, something is very not right.
It's a completely different thought and emotion and perception being trying to communicate
as a human.
Yeah. It kind of makes me think of Arrival.
I fucking love that movie.
So you got the same thing, like an outside of time, way more intelligent being that really can't comprehend how you think and function, trying to communicate with you.
Yeah.
And as you know, in that movie, the whole premise is actually the future, not the past.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that.
But actually,
like.
You just made me make a really, or vaguely intelligent, I would hope, connection to some of the actual, like, philosophical dialogue that they come up with later in the film about, like, you know, something unknowable to us trying to interact with us as close of an approximation to human as it can possibly get.
Yeah, that's the whole premise of the book.
Yeah.
And really the only reason that Lem hated the movie is that it tried to do something more about, like, the human condition, whereas really it was just supposed to be about the alien not being able to communicate with us. So the whole, like, existential dread and hopelessness of humanity.
Although I will say,
not in the book.
I can understand why a filmmaker would take, okay, this thing is desperately trying to communicate and can't. What does that make us feel?
Right. On the other side of that, yeah. How
Like,
would a human feel seeing these things happen?
Yeah.
And, like, yeah.
But yeah, and then we get some actual, like, concrete information about the real, that's a whole other thing that comes up, Hari, that she poisoned herself, which, Jesus, that's dark.
Not the best way to go.
No, definitely not. And, like, again, just, like, these very unsettling lines, like, the longer it lasts, the worse it will be. Yikes! And, like, they're so right. And then I made the connection of, like, oh, that's what the mark on her arm was. She injected herself with whatever, like, he had some samples or whatever that he was talking about. He's like, oh, I left them in the fridge. I brought work home and, like, told her how it works, like, this chemical thing. I was like, oh, that's, like, phew.
Like, kaboop.
Yikes. I thought it was funny that they actually tried to do a little birthday dinner for the other scientist on the station. That was nice of them.
I guess, yeah. I mean, it is a little bit of, I guess, levity is the word I'll use.
I mean, I would say, yeah. The Soviet sense of humor is very different from
Well, that's why, like, yeah. I couldn't
the
tell you.
contemporary American sense of humor.
Every culture has its own sense of humor about, yeah.
Slight tangent. When I was taking Russian classes in college, my professor, fucking love this woman, so nice, Natalia, I miss you. but there were so few people in the class that we were ahead in like in our like curriculum, and we wound up not needing the slot that they had given us to take our final exam. So my professor brought in homemade borscht and like this old Soviet comedy, and that was our final exam. We just sat there and like had lunch and watched a movie. And as I was watching this movie, it was called, I think it's called Ivan Vasilievich Changes His Profession or something like that. And as I was watching this, I was like, if I had like, I can just see, like, you ever just get this feeling that like if I had watched this growing up, if this was like a nostalgic fave, like, I would have fucking loved this. Nobody would be able to say shit to me about this movie, no matter how bad it is. Like, do you ever watch something and just know that, like, oh yeah, this would have been, like, I would have worn the tape out on this VHS as a child?
Yes.
That is what I felt
yeah.
watching that movie. But yeah, Soviet sense of humor being very different. That's what that reminded me of, because it was a comedy. Loved the quote from Don Quixote, blessings on he who invented sleep. Fucking mood.
Great quote. Awesome reference. There's a tie-in here, because they kind of have a couple of Don Quixote references throughout the film.
There's also more than one reference to Faust.
Oh, yeah. But at one scene, when they're in the zero gravity, Don Quixote was flying by the book. And that's what I'm talking about. It's that spoon feeding of, in case you missed the reference, it was Don Quixote. Do you get it now?
Here's the thing, yes, but I am kind of wondering, like, if that would be an easily it would be expected to be a quickly retrievable cultural reference for the average Soviet citizen at the time.
Even so, they wouldn't necessarily know that those quotes would have come from that book and gotten that reference.
Point taken.
You know?
Point taken.
And so either you know it's from that book or you don't know it's from that book. Either way, that scene is unnecessary.
A little bit. Someone, I can't remember exactly who said it, but they said we need a mirror, which was really interesting because one of Tarkovsky's other films is called Mirror.
Yes.
And that is one I have not seen yet.
I saw that when I was looking things up. It mentioned that making that Mirror comment, and then I saw that Mirror was the name of one of his films. So I was like, I wonder if that was on purpose too.
And then just, I can already get by without him. Fucking pardon?
Yeah, no, there's some dialogue choices. In
That's
the 7
not
minutes
good.
of dialogue in the film, there's some good choices that really set the mood.
Yeah, no, that was definitely one of them. And again, he leaves her for a little bit, and he comes back, and she's just sitting there, and I'm like, oh shit, that's not good. It's it's figuring out how to exist as us.
Once it learns how to open doors, it's over. It's like the Velociraptors in Jurassic Park.
Essentially. I loved the use of the chandelier to depict zero gravity, just when they were talking about like, oh, there's going to be a slight shift because we have to change the orbit of the station or whatever. Just all the like strands of crystals on the chandelier just like floating upwards. That looked so fucking awesome.
That was a good visualization. I enjoyed that, yeah.
That I really liked. Also the candelabra that falls on the floor and then they cut it, the way it like mirrors the fire in the like flashback to his childhood.
Oh, yeah.
Again, just a thing I noticed. Not necessarily going to make any declarative statements about like what that means or whatever.
This is a film, though, where you can try to think about that. The dress is not just blue. There's a reason it's blue.
Oh, yeah, no. And also, just in general, the dress was just blue. Stop. I hate that school of thought about media.
That's why, like, this particular director, the dress probably isn't just blue.
No, very much no.
Right. But, like, in general, though, yes. Stop.
Yes. And also just, this is a thing that I was thinking about when I was...
Oh, it is blue and black. That is a fact. The woman who took the picture spoke up about this.
Here's the thing. Whether, like, yes, the dress itself, the physical object is blue and black. I saw that photograph as white and gold. And I don't necessarily know what that means about, like, the way I perceive color or, like, the way my eyes are structured or...
It actually just has to do with what you perceived first. Whether it was glowing in the light or whether it was in the shade. So I saw
Okay.
a blue and black dress. The reality is that I saw a blue and black dress that was in the light. And so my brain saw it as blue and black being lit up
Oh, no.
on the one side.
That is not what I saw.
Where it was reflecting, you saw white and gold reflecting the light normally, and behind it was being cast shadows that were blue and black.
Huh.
It's just what your mind focused on and perceived first.
So yeah, and I'm on the white and gold side of the quote-unquote debate because that's what I saw.
It's Laurel Yanny. It's kind of
Essentially,
whatever
yeah.
you're listening to or at
Or listening
and
for.
you start to perceive it.
Yeah.
And you can't get out of it.
Oh, but yeah, and then it becomes more unclear towards the end, fucking shocker, as artsy films are wont to do.
Instead of tying things up nicely for you, they just start throwing confetti.
Essentially, yeah. Or, I don't know, I kind of think of it as like a diffusion, almost.
I guess. Yeah.
But again, it's not for everyone, and I do recognize that. I very passionately want to argue in favor of it because of the effect that it has on me. So I just, like, whenever I, like, encounter, like, somebody who's like, yeah, I get what it was trying to do, but, like, it didn't work for me, but I'm like, but just, I want people to have the same experience that I had, being like, oh, this is confusing and I don't understand, but it makes me want to dive deeper. Like,
Even
I
if
want
they
people to have that
do,
experience.
It doesn't mean they're going to enjoy this film
and
their
that's,
take
and
on it.
again, that's the thing.
Because I love a good, ooh, what's that about in a movie? Mm-hmm. I just didn't feel drawn into this.
That's fair. I'm gonna try and not drag this out too long, but Harry's like second death is fucking dark, first of all, and second of all, this whole thing where like death just like it just doesn't like take to whatever this is
Well, yeah,
when it
I
tries to express itself as human.
Yeah, I don't think that it actually can die in that form.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's it. That's just, it's a manifestation of it.
Um,
It's like killing my second life avatar, you know?
Yeah, and this is really only relevant to someone who has also seen Stalker. The ocean on this planet, on Solaris, it very much is giving the zone from Stalker, in just a sort of like,
I will take your word for it.
like again, it doesn't behave how you think it should. It has these
yeah.
unknowable properties. It's a geographic location in some ways, but like it exerts something greater than itself. Blah blah blah. That kind of shit. Like, definitely drawn some parallels there. I'm not going back to Earth. Yeah, I get the feeling that isn't gonna work out, bud.
I don't think you really get a say. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you get a choice. And the shot where Kelvin is out in the hallway and he like it doesn't show him turn around, it just like superimposes a shot and they fade into each other. When I was watching that, it like hit me like a bolt of lightning. I was like, David Lynch has seen this fucking movie.
I'm sure. Because that's another person who like would enjoy an artsy film and the hidden meanings behind things, you know? Mm-hmm. So, for sure, this is something he's seen.
I gotta and
It was on Kurosawa's top 100 films.
yeah, I haven't seen nearly as much Kurosawa as I would like to. I'll get there eventually. But for a person who hasn't even fucking finished War and Peace, I really do like a lot of Tolstoy's like philosophy and like the way he writes about like just people in general. Like this Tolstoy-esque point that they make in the film of like, oh, love is a feeling that we experience but can't explain. Like, yeah, dude, yeah.
Not wrong, you
It's
know?
very and this is the point where I really start kind of like falling apart verbally when I try to describe why these like philosophical statements essentially just make my heart do the exclamation point, where I'm just like, yeah, and like that's really all I can get out because I did not do well in my classics courses that I had to take in college. Even though I found them interesting, I'm just so bad at articulating like coherently what the yeah is for me.
It's just this.
Yeah,
this
it's just
feeling.
like, fuck yeah. But also, I thought this was an oddly spiritual bit of philosophy to be coming from a Soviet film with the whole kind of like, oh, you know, religion is the opiate of the masses. Like, again, not that every single person in the Soviet Union was like thinking like that at all times, but just the broader culture being what it was. The idea that like the universe experiences itself as human beings in order to like experience love. Again, that's another one of those things. People probably write papers about this, but I see that and I'm just like, yes.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, essentially, that's what I got for you. And again, the sequence with Kelvin in bed in that room was making me wonder if Tarkovsky and Kubrick ever met because they were contemporaries, and later finding out that they kind of fucking hated each other.
Yeah.
And in the end, I thought it was so interesting, like all of the worlds that exist in Kelvin's mind kind of like crashing together, combining in his brain, these flashbacks, the station where he is currently, his memories of Hari. And they're going, the fact that they go kind of quote unquote nuclear in the end, which again, that's another whole fucking commentary
Yeah.
to be had.
It's right in the time frame where
It
that's
is,
kind of an important...
ooh, very much. Have you watched Chernobyl, the miniseries? Oh, it's so fucking good.
I've seen a different thing about Chernobyl.
Oh, it's so good. Cannot recommend it enough. But yeah, and then he was like talking about like I can't remember precisely who said it, but it was like, oh yeah, there's islands forming in the sea now that we've like beamed out your brainwaves, and it was,
like
and I
it's
was like,
receding or
oh,
whatever.
islands of memory, that came up earlier. Philosophy doesn't interest those who are happy. You're so fucking right.
That's one of the most valid things ever said.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And what does it say about me that I have feelings about philosophy? Yeah. Yikes. But and again, I don't know how significant this is, but the little plant in like the tin from one of the black and white like memory sequences is on the ship with him in one of the last shots where he's on the station.
I wonder how much of what's going on is just manifestations.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, this is... the more we talk about it, the more I'm realizing it, that Event Horizon is sort of a retelling of the concept of this from the purely horror
Yeah.
side of it.
Yeah.
Just drop the...
And these are like
hopelessness,
my...
add fear.
And these are kind of my last couple things. This brief sort of... I mean, again, is it real, is it not? Where he's back home, supposedly, after this incident. Like, at the before they, like, you know, kind of zoom out and do their big, like, oh, what really happened question, I was just thinking, like, yeah, man, like, how do you fucking come back from that? Like, you kind of don't.
Yeah, I just lay down and that's...
Yeah, essentially.
Had a good run.
This is just kind of another personal thing, but flaming hot fucking take. Russia is a really beautiful country, and I am kind of tired of the, like, Cold War holdover obligation to pretend that it's not.
I don't know that anyone thinks that Russia is a country with nothing beautiful in it.
Or,
I
like,
think that-
the tendency to perceive it as, like, gray, like, you know, drab, lifeless, horrible place.
Yeah, it's not the landmass of Russia that I think most people would feel that way about so much as the urban centers controlled by the government.
Which, again, this is... I can't believe that we live in a world where I have to say this. My love of the Russian language, culture, and Soviet film industry has nothing to do with the current governments of Russia. Vladimir Putin can eat shit and die.
But that's just, you know, that's what people have stuck in their mind.
Essentially, yes. But then again, of course, you know, it gets all fucky in the end. The fire, the rain indoors on the books, like, what's going on? Oh, zooming back out. Of course he's not actually back. Of course this isn't an experience that ends. Like, this isn't something you walk away from.
Who knows how long he's been here?
Yeah, exactly. And it's zooming out. I'm like, oh my god, it's a fucking island of memory.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But it's the last memory, too.
Essentially, yeah.
All those other things are gone.
Mm-hmm.
That is the last island
Yeah.
that he's living on.
It's pretty
Is it
fucked.
because it's about to consume him? or
Who
because
knows?
it's letting him continue to exist there.
And that's where I got to my little letterboxed blurb, which was essentially, if you can watch something like this, and again, the only thing at all that you take is that was boring and weird, die.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely... If you literally could only take that away from it, which I don't think is possible for anyone, for anything. You watch a Cheetos commercial, take more away than that.
One would hope.
Right. But yeah. Overall, the takeaway for me is just speed it up. Like, it's...
I mean, again, I like the time to breathe that it gives you, essentially, but it's just a fucking personal thing.
Right. You know, and self-admitted pretension about those things and the way it's shot.
And that's my thing. Sometimes pretension really does annoy me, but other times I think it is necessary. Like...
Here's my take on pretension.
I
in
think it
artsy
should
film.
exist. I
Yeah.
think pretension should exist.
Because it
Sometimes
allows
you
to
need it.
enjoy this in a way that other people cannot. This is not like a glass of wine where a sommelier can talk about the hints of oak and give a shit and enjoy it, and I can just go, it tastes good, and enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
This is just this is a wine only a sommelier can appreciate.
That's fair.
The everyman.
That's a
that doesn't
that's a
get those
really
hints of
good
oak,
way. That's a really good way to explain it. Yeah.
or doesn't want those hints of oak in this film. You know,
And, like-
however you want to look at it. You know.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out, like, doing like a little self-reflecting on the fly here and like wondering like why it is that like I can be one of those quote unquote like sommelier people when it comes to movies like this. I really don't know. It's not like I was like I was a film minor in college, but
It's a couple film courses, you know.
but I mean that's the thing. It's not like, oh, I was like, you know, my grad program was in like, you know, XYZ era of cinema and what this all means.
We know
Like,
it was in Russian history and politics. We're aware.
actually, it wasn't. I was a communication major. But yeah, so it's not like I have like a particularly intense like academic background with film or anything like
Right,
that. I don't
right.
necessarily know why it is, but I'm just like, again, it's just the yeah for me.
Right, and that's fine.
So your ratings for rewatchability, I'm assuming, is going to be very low, but also I'm interested to hear what you have to say for what it did.
Yeah, so I know you're not going to be happy, but I'm going to be honest. So for rewatchability, for me, subjectively, it's 2.5, 3.
That's fair.
Because I could have enjoyed it if it was trimmed down to about 2 hours.
But here's another thing just to ask, and not that this necessarily changes your rating, because I think a film with a low rewatchability can also be a film that benefits from being rewatched.
I mean,
What's your take on that with Solaris specifically? Because I think I would probably get a little bit more out of it the second time, because I would have some things in my mind already to be like, oh, let me see, like, what that's about. Let me, like, try and look at it this way, now that I know this.
So sometimes that can be the case, but in this case, I've read the synopsis, I've read the reviews, I read the book after I was done with the
And
movie.
again, that's the thing. Maybe that would change my rewatchability score had I read the book.
Yeah. Maybe not. You just kind of treat them as different creatures. We can get into that.
Yeah.
Movie to TV show adaptation, or book to TV show, or movie adaptation, you know, some other time. But yeah, no, I think I got out of it everything I was going to get out of it. I don't think a second watch is going to help me.
That's fair. But for what it does, what's your rating there?
I'm so sorry, but like, you got to remember, this is coming on the heels of 2001. Not a whole lot new to this that wasn't available in that film. Even as we put 2001 on, because I didn't feel like downloading Solaris on here. From our drive, we own it. But I put it on. It was a very dull opening. The scene is, I forgot how long and drawn out the monkey scene is. It's bad, and like nothing happens. So I was suddenly reminded of like, I've given grace for this in the past, but it's because it's something I saw when I was willing to.
And my thing is that I also think, like, it isn't doing anything. Again, nothing is new, but it isn't necessarily doing anything that quote unquote hasn't been done before. However, it's from a perspective that is new to me, or newer to me. Again, like I'm an American in the year 2024.
Right, but in 1972, watching, well, even the book, you know, and the 1968 version that was also made, they were a new take on this experience, focused on something completely different. So, to your point, nothing new, but the perspective is from human desolation and desperation and hopelessness.
Essentially, yeah.
Instead
Which, again, very fucking Russian.
Yeah, instead of like 2001, which is more of like suspense and conflict, like direct conflict.
Yeah.
Or anything else, which would have been either on the drama side or the horror side or just general sci-fi side. This was a psychological review of that same concept. So that's new and different.
Yeah.
Like very, very approachable if you like Hitchcock or things like that. Yeah. So.
And not that that's necessarily easy to quantify, but like.
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm trying not to give it a low number, but like for what it did, like a 4.5.
Okay, I fucking shocker. Am on the other end of the spectrum with
Obviously.
this. For rewatchability, I gotta say, I think it's probably like a 7 for me. Like, I want to give it time and then return to it later. Like, I want to let what I've taken from this initial viewing, like, really sink in and, like, you know, percolate, see what I come up with before I go back and I'm like, okay, well, let me try looking at it like this. Or, like, let me see what I noticed this time and if that changes anything. Like, I want to sit with my initial viewing of it for a while, but I do want to watch it again. So that's why it's, like, I'm definitely going to watch this movie again. Like, that is almost a certainty. But I'm giving it a 7 because, like, I'm going to take my time with that. For what it does, again, this is just, it's something that isn't necessarily new, but from a perspective that, like, really hadn't crossed my mind. Or, like, was foreign to me. That's an 8.
Foreign.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
But yeah, it's an 8 for me. For what it does.
I don't.
And again, it's very subjective. But I just something about it really draws me in, despite being as measured in its pacing as it is. The perspective of like. Again, like looking at the future with like trepidation as opposed to sort of like still suspense but also a sense of adventure.
I want to see, you know, this is a rare time where I want to see other people's takes on it before I come up with it. Because for like what it did, what I want to know, I want to see the filmmakers of 1973 through today, and I want to see how many of them reference this as like something that inspired their filmmaking style. Then I'll go ahead and say, okay, so for what it did.
And that's the other thing. I think
Till I see
it
that.
might be a little, and this is might be just sort of like a tragedy of situation. Like, I think the filmmakers that were going to be influenced by a film like this were probably already influenced by 2001: A Space Odyssey, because of the difficulty in getting a film from, at the time, our ideological enemy
Right.
out there to the masses.
Right. So the people that were growing up, you know, and becoming filmmakers at that time were getting inspired by the person, Stanley Kubrick.
By the
who's
thing
already
that they could
dumping
actually,
out films.
by the thing that they could actually access.
Yeah. As opposed to, I think, when did this, is it 82 that it got released in its full time?
82 or 85, I think.
So, like, it's light years beyond. Like, you have a whole nother set of films to be basing sci-fi, you know, on.
Which, like,
Star Wars and Star Trek.
And that's the real bitch of, like, again, the situation being what it was. Like, oh, you know, keep these two worlds very separate.
I love Star Trek, the original series, but it is also very, like, slow and dull being made back in that time frame. A lot of things were.
I mean,
slowed down.
I think a lot of things are slow by comparison, just because of the way society has progressed, whether that's necessarily good or bad.
Not in that way, but yeah, I meant like pacing and everything. Yeah. So I wonder if Solaris would have worked for me if it had been done in segments, in the idea of a TV show. So there's breaks, and they have to have a certain build and flow to each section, because this did not pace well for me. It's just something that I thought about.
That's fair.
Yeah, you're right though. There was so much stuff around between when this came out and when it was actually widely available in the US that most filmmakers just never got to this.
Yeah, I can, again, from my perspective, unfortunately, see it really kind of getting lost in the shuffle.
That's probably true for most foreign films until the modern age. You know, the modern age making it easy to get these things.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Now you're more likely to run into a foreign director that
And also,
gets a widespread audience.
this is just a little thing, again, being more, in this day and age, you're much more willing, or much more able to run into things. Go see a movie someday and know nothing about it. To know absolutely nothing but the title. I did this once, and it is a movie that I have thought about every single fucking day since I have seen it. It is a Macedonian folk horror film called You Won't Be Alone.
Well, I love the title.
5 fucking stars. Good for her. I have thought about it every single day since I saw it, and I'm going to think about it every single day for the rest of my life.
I keep forgetting how young you are. That's just how we used to see movies.
Whack.
'Cause, like, there was nowhere to look up information about it.
There wasn't like a blurb in the paper?
You might get like the base blurb or you see the poster, but
Yeah.
Yeah, this sounds cool.
you get like a 1-sentence description.
That's the thing. I didn't even have that. I knew nothing but the title. Do that sometime. I highly recommend it. You might find something fucking incredible.
You might. But if you haven't heard anything about it and it's already available to be seen, it's because nobody's talking about it.
And here's the thing, I understand why nobody in upstate New York was talking about a Macedonian like folk horror film. Like,
Right.
I get it.
Right.
But I mean, like, yeah, give something a try. That's all I'm saying. Give something a try based on nothing but the title. Broaden your horizons. In the words of Mr. John Waters, get more out of life. See a fucked up film.
I've seen quite a few fucked up films.
And would you say you get more out of life because of that?
Oh, God. I can't hear the song Bird is the Word without seeing an asshole pucker. So, no? I don't get more out of life except for trauma.
Oh my god. You know, no, I don't even want to ask. Do not explain.
Oh my God. I'm going to make you watch a film.
Fuck you.
It's not science fiction, though.
So you gotta start a new podcast, bitch.
Or I got to find a way to justify that it's
Listen, I could
called
I
Pink
could.
Flamingos.
Oh, I'm planning on watching that anyway.
Oh. You just got to watch a guy's butthole pucker. To the song, Bard, Bard, Bard. Bard is
Yeah,
the word.
it's
Bard.
John Waters. That doesn't fucking surprise me at all.
So that's why I was saying, yeah, I've seen some fucked up films.
Yeah, that's why the guy who made that film said that.
Yeah. That's a fair point, actually,
But yeah.
So I guess that's it. I mean,
I was about to say, though, theoretically, I can justify Cats being sci-fi, so if you really want to go down that road...
you already did. No, this was your deep pull. This was
All
your
right.
deep pull.
That's fine. I'm not going to promise that I'm never going to do it again.
I didn't say don't ever do it again. Cats, I'm going to just nip right in the bud. That's
But
a
not...
stage music.
No, but not the... yeah, actually, no, you're so right. Because the movie sucks. There's a really great taped performance of it on the West End in London. But that is a taped performance. You're right. You are correct.
Boom.
It is your turn. It is 100% your turn after you allowing me to choose that and sitting through it and not being a total dick to me about it.
I was never going to be a dick to you about it. But we definitely... have a difference.
Hashtag bullied kid vibes.
Yeah, we definitely took different things away from it. I was going to give it a Raz, the movie itself, but it's fine that you like it, and I see why you would. I just don't.
Okay, yeah. That's entirely fair.
Yeah.
But I will very happily hand the next week to you, and frankly the week after that if you want, because
I don't know.
I feel like you deserve it.
Let's start with this next one. I am Bully Bridget 2024. A platform we can all get behind.
Who said that?
That was Amanda.
AJ, what the fuck? I thought we were friends. We were laughing about the Reese's cups in their panties.
Did you see the band?
Oh my god, yay, I'll watch Cats with you too. Fuck yeah, we're gonna have girls' night.
Very cool. Maybe you'll do an extra special episode.
Oh my god, yes, girls' night special. Anyway, sorry, what?
Oh,
Again, if there's a producer out there who's not me who wants to produce that.
I'll sucker Kyle into this somehow. Into this network of disaster.
debauchery and disaster. Oh wait,
He's gonna
there's another podcast.
Debauchery and disaster. Well, I had a podcast title that I have no show for, and it's Metal Education.
Nice. We have a couple in the works that we've come up with names for,
and I have
concepts.
And I have a podcast concept, which is just talking about pretentious movies, which would literally just be me and Kyle being really fucking annoying, because he's the same type of film person that I am. Actually, he's worse.
Oh God.
And that's why we're together. Love you, honey. But yeah, I have that concept.
Oh God, you know what that podcast should be?
What?
You guys being pretentious for like 90 minutes. And Nick has to sit there quiet the whole time
until to produce that episode
until the last like 5 minutes or so.
And then he gets to yell at us.
Yeah.
Finally, he gets to come off mute.
No, we have to do
screaming.
a special. That's that. Even if it doesn't become a show, that has to happen.
Just to bite his tongue for an hour and a half.
Kyle, you get to pick because you have an even more pretentious taste in films than I do. Just make this man's life hell, and then we get bullied for 5 minutes, but it's fine because we're going through it together.
I want to be there when he hears this while editing it.
The things we do because he's not like around, you know.
Oh, I know. Did you watch?
We told him that the Mac and Me thing.
Yeah, did you watch the stream when he was talking about that? He was like, I thought I had friends. And I was like, I did just kind of sit there and let this happen, but now that I know it's a thing, I feel like I can't get in the way of it.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, if I'm not here, I expect that they're going to push me into a bad situation. What are friends for?
So yeah, that's going to happen whether or not it becomes a show.
So, for next episode.
Yes, what do you got for me, bro?
Today. I'm thinking another Dennis Hopper movie.
Okay.
This time with Charles Dance and
that is not a name that rings any bells off the top of my head.
Tyrion Lannister or Tywin Lannister.
I never watched Game of Thrones.
Okay. Wow. Charles Dance OBE, or has he been knighted yet? I don't know. I think he's just an OBE. Officer of the British Empire before they get knighted for their work in arts. He's been in so much stuff. I'm just trying to think of like what else you might know him from. Did you see Last Action Hero?
Mm-mm.
Oh, excellent action movie.
Wait, I'm pretty sure Brooks was talking about that the other day. Is it the
So
one with Arnold
good.
Schwarzenegger?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where he is like comes to life.
That
in the
came
film.
up. Wait, Chris, didn't that come up when we were talking about Rhinestone for some fucking reason?
Maybe?
It was either on the podcast episode before we talked about that or that stream.
I'm always down to talk Last Action Hero.
Last Action Hero. We've talked about this because it really was. That movie was the last of that era of that type of action movie.
You know what?
Like all the Lethal Weapons are going out. All the, all those movies of that style are just falling out of favor.
I'll buy it.
So unintentionally, it sort of sealed the coffin on that era, which is what Defenestration Hour is all about.
Yeah.
If you guys are ever closing up shop, that should be the episode you do.
Or just do
should
a
be the last episode,
guest episode with Brooks and talk about that. I'm sure she would be thrilled.
I fucking love that movie.
Fuck yeah.
So anyway.
Can we think of anything that I would know this man from, and what is the movie?
Last Action Hero. He's the villain. He's the main villain in Last Action Hero.
I'll just Google him.
Jesus Christ.
I'm
It's
sorry.
Charles Dance.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, it's called Space Truckers.
Oh, fuck yeah. Let's go, brother.
It's Exactly. The title is not subtle at all.
And this is why I think
Literally a long-haul trucker.
that even though I can be a pretentious asshole, I'm not as bad as I could be, because I can follow up the conversation that we just had with hearing space truckers and going, oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's...
I contain multitudes.
Not touching that. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Yeah, so what is...
Kyle's gonna beat you up.
In 2 weeks, yeah, okay. In 2 weeks, we're doing Space Truckers, but what is going on with Fighting with Friends tomorrow?
Tomorrow, I actually don't have an episode outline yet because of who I am as a person, but we are having... I know. I'm a mess.
There it is.
I do my best, but I'm doing a lot of con prep,
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
so things are happening, but, I mean, nothing big.
Nothing to promote. You will be doing an episode, though?
Yes, we're normal, everyday, ordinary episode of Fighting with Friends tomorrow on our, going out from the Big Dumb Monsters Twitch channel at 7.
Amanda wants to know if you're doing Fandom Fest.
Am I doing Fandom Fest? We have no plans to currently.
Thursday is the all-inclusive...
Thursday is our mega stream that, unlike our normal Fighting with Friends Twitch streams that go out from the Fighting with Friends Twitch channel, we will not be doing that on Thursday. We are going to be going out from Big Dumb Monsters because I'm going to be here in studio with Arthur, Chris, Kyle's going to be sitting in for funsies, Brooks and Nick are going to be brought in remote, and we are going to be fucking talking about Hobgoblins for the final film of our awful 80s month of movie review streams for Fighting with Friends.
It's the 80s.
Again, Rhinestone does not belong in the group of awful movies.
I know. Well, I didn't even think the one that I watched, which I didn't get...
Megaforce
There you
was
go, Megaforce.
fine.
It's fine. It's exactly. I would never write home about it, but it was not one of the
I mean,
worst
again,
movies.
it would keep an 8-year-old boy entertained in 1980 whatever, which is exactly what it was designed to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, do not fucking miss that stream. I have told every single person who has heard about it and is going to be watching and who is going to be participating, fucking pregame substance use encouraged. It is going to be fucking wild. So tune in, do not miss it. Big Dumb Monsters on Twitch, not Fighting with Friends. Just for that one day.
And then what do we have Friday? Don't we have something Friday as well?
Yes, the Big Dumb Monsters Summer Camp Book Club is back. And they're going to be talking Coraline, the book and the movie.
Ooh.
Stellar choice.
Fantastic.
Stellar choice.
It's going to be Amanda and local cosplayer, Local Honey.
Nice. Well, we're
Very
glad
nice.
to have her on. I'll definitely tune in for that. That sounds really interesting.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's it for this week.
I would say so, unless we want to give any time to what we've been up to. It has kind of been a hot minute since our last episode.
Oh, yeah. What have you been up to?
See, the thing is, not much. It's a lot of con prep. I have everything for my sexy Mothman cosplay for Mid-Hudson Comic-Con, which I'm so fucking excited about. And I am almost done putting together my redo of my Violence Fiend mask out of EVA foam. And I think I did a much better job this time. So that's cool. And also, Brooks is probably going to be cosplaying a character from the same anime at Mid-Hudson with me. So that'll also be fun.
Nice.
And... oh my god, new Ghost music video on Thursday.
Ooh, excited. I can't wait to see that.
Have you seen the movie yet?
No.
We got a new song.
Oh.
And they're releasing a music video for that. And also, this is my Right Here, Right Now cup.
The only thing I have new going on is if you play Magic the Gathering, TCGplayer.com now has a store called Regrettable Reviews, which will be hosting my Magic the Gathering collection piece by piece.
Exciting!
So feel free to stop in there. Maybe I'll find a way to do like a promo code or something if you see anything you like.
Ooh.
I'm not sure how that works. I just set up the store, you know. So.
Or
Or I'll just remove it from inventory and sell it at a different price to you.
yeah, there you go. Gonna have some fun stuff at Mid-Hudson. Brooks has been making a ton of fun little plushies for our table. I've been making bracelets and cross-stitch patches. And also, if you don't find a bracelet that you like, I will make one before your very eyes.
Very cool.
So,
Well,
We have a trivia contest.
yeah, we got a lot.
The trivia contest at Mid Hudson.
Yeah, it's going to be a real fun time.
Lots of cool prizes
Hell fucking yeah, brother.
for those that can make it.
Fingers crossed. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been.
yeah.
That's the thing. I haven't done a lot. I've been like getting ready to do a
Exactly.
lot.
Yeah, well, my week is what you see. I'm getting ready for or producing or hosting a podcast.
Yep.
This is our second full week of programming, which is pretty cool.
That's a
Hell
great
yeah,
place to
go
be.
us.
That is a great place to be. I hope we get more shows and a few more producers so that we can have people rotating in and out more and get some of those other shows we've had.
I definitely. Here's the
Yeah.
thing. I definitely know another show. I don't know about a producer, but I know another show.
Someone that can sit there and just make sure that the stream's going good. That's all we need, you know. Is,
See, the thing is that
Producers,
they are in New
editors.
Jersey,
yeah,
but they do all their own stuff.
right. So,
So,
there would
like-
just be a day that we could just turn on and go, kind of like we've gotten with the.
I can
Fighting
put
Friends stuff.
y'all in contact.
worth a look into.
So just putting that out there.
But yeah, so I guess that'll do.
Yeah.
Was it like never
Don't shake alien
don't
eggs.
shake alien eggs? I was gonna say never touch alien eggs.
Don't shake them.
Don't shake alien eggs.
Or honestly, just don't touch them. Just leave them alone.
Yeah, just no alien eggs for you.
Yeah, don't touch alien eggs.